In 1982, a Texas oil man spent $40,000 building a steel vault in his basement. 3 years later, a retired locksmith 2 counties over stopped a home invasion cold with a $12 hardware trick and an ordinary bathroom door. Number 14 on this list is quietly used by people in federal witness protection. Number 3 costs less than a pizza and buys you the one thing money cannot: time. These 20 tricks turn any ordinary room into a fortress. Hit that subscribe button. Let us count down. Number 20, swapping the hollow door for a solid core. Walk through most American houses built after 1960, and every interior door is the same. Hollow, a thin skin of Luan wood over a cardboard honeycomb hanging on 2 flimsy hinges. You could put your fist through one, and plenty of angry people have. A determined shoulder goes through it in a single hit. This is the door standing between a family and whoever just kicked in the front entrance. The fix costs almost nothing by panic room standards. A solid core interior door runs about $70 at a hardware store, sometimes less at a salvage yard where old commercial doors go for $20. It weighs 3 times as much and feels like a wall when you knock on it. That mass is the whole point. It absorbs impact instead of splintering. A man in Ohio hung one on his master bedroom in an afternoon with a chisel and a screwdriver. 2 years later, 3 men tried to get through it during a break-in. They gave up. He kept his family behind a $70 slab of wood while a $20,000 vault sat unbuilt in some catalog. Number 19, the 3-inch screw trick. Here is the cheapest, most overlooked security upgrade in the entire country, and it costs about $4. Take the strike plate off your door frame, the little metal plate the deadbolt slides into. Look at the screws holding it. They are almost always 3/4 of an inch long. That means your entire home's security is anchored into a thin strip of soft pine trim, not the actual wall. When someone kicks a door, that trim is what shatters. The frame does not fail. The screws pull straight out of the flimsy jamb. Replace those short screws with 3-inch wood screws, the kind that reach past the trim and bite into the solid stud behind the wall. Now a kick has to break the framing lumber of the house itself. Testing videos show doors with proper long screws surviving battering ram hits that turn standard doors to matchsticks in one blow. A box of 3-inch screws is $4 and change. It takes 10 minutes with a drill. Security companies charge hundreds for reinforced strike plates that do the exact same job. Your grandfather would have called this common sense. Now it is a secret. Number 18, hinge bolts and setting the pins. Everyone worries about the lock side of the door and forgets the hinges. A door is only as strong as its weakest edge, and on a lot of homes the hinge side is the weak one. 2 tricks fix it, both nearly free. First, if your door hinges are on the outside, someone can knock the pins out and lift the whole door off. The fix is a setting screw, sometimes called a hinge stud. You drill out 1 screw hole on the frame side, thread in a headless screw so it sticks out 1/2 inch, and drill a matching hole on the door side. When the door closes, that stud locks the door to the frame, even if every pin is gone. Second, swap 2 of the short hinge screws for those same 3-inch screws from the last trick, driving the hinges into the wall stud. Now both edges of the door anchor to the bones of the house. This costs a couple of dollars and an hour. The people selling $20,000 rooms will show you a slab of ballistic steel. They will not tell you that a headless screw in a $30 hollow door frame stops the oldest trick in the burglar's book. Number 17, the security bar and the 2x4. Before there were smart locks and biometric scanners, there was a board across the door, and it worked in castles for 1,000 years. The modern version is a floor-mounted security bar, one of those adjustable steel poles that wedges from the door handle down to the floor. They cost about $15 and stop a door from swinging inward, no matter how hard someone hits it, because the force gets driven straight into the floor joists. But the true poor man's version costs less than a soda. Screw 2 sturdy L brackets into the studs on either side of the inside of your door, 1 on each side, positioned to hold a length of 2x4 across the door like a medieval bar. When you are safe inside, you drop the board in. To get through, an intruder now has to break framing lumber and pull brackets out of the wall studs. That is a job for tools, not a boot. It buys minutes, and minutes are everything. A luxury panic room brags about a hydraulic locking system. A church deacon in Georgia did the same thing with $6 of lumber and 2 brackets from a coffee can of spare hardware. Number 16, reinforcing the frame itself. You can have the strongest door and the best lock in the world, and it means nothing if the frame around it turns to powder. On most homes, the door frame is a hollow shell of trim boards with an inch of empty air behind it, packed loosely with foam or nothing at all. That empty space is why frames crack. The fix is a door frame reinforcement kit, a length of steel that screws over the jamb and spreads the force of a kick across the whole doorway. Store-bought kits run about $60. The homemade version is a piece of steel angle iron or even a strip of plywood ripped to fit, screwed into the studs behind the trim with those long screws again. You are turning a hollow wooden channel into a solid backed one. In break-in testing, a reinforced frame is the single difference between a door that holds and a door that folds. Everything else on this list buys you nothing if the frame surrenders first. Grandpa's generation built door frames out of real lumber, tight to the studs. We build them out of finger-jointed trim and prayer. This trick just gives you back what houses used to have for free. First pattern break. Here is what nobody selling security wants you to understand. A safe room is not about being impossible to get into. Nothing is impossible to get into, not even that $20,000 vault. Given enough time and the right tools, a safe room is about time. Every trick on this list does one job. It adds seconds. Seconds to call 911. Seconds for police to arrive. Seconds for the person on the other side of that door to decide the noise and effort are not worth it and move on, because the overwhelming majority of intruders are not commandos. They are opportunists who want an easy target and a fast exit. The expensive panic room industry sells you the fantasy of a bunker. What actually saves lives is delay. Layer enough cheap delays together, a solid door, long screws, a bar, a reinforced frame, and you have manufactured the most precious resource in an emergency out of hardware store scraps. The oil man's steel vault and the locksmith's bathroom door did the exact same thing. One just cost $40,000 more to do it. Number 15, window security film. If your safe room has a window, and many do, that glass is the weak point, and everyone knows it. Standard window glass shatters with one strike. But there is a product that has protected storefronts and government buildings for decades, and almost no homeowner uses it. Security film. It is a thick, optically clear polyester layer you squeegee onto the inside of the glass. When someone hits the window, the glass still cracks, but the film holds every shard together in one flexible sheet that refuses to fall out of the frame. An intruder ends up punching a rubbery, sagging membrane over and over while the clock runs. A roll to cover a bedroom window costs around $30, and you install it yourself with soapy water and a plastic card, the same way you'd put a screen protector on a phone. Commercial installers charge many hundreds for the identical film. It also holds glass together in a hurricane or an explosion, which is why embassies use it. For $30, you turn the most vulnerable part of your safe room into one of the strongest, and nobody looking through the window can even tell it is there. Number 14, the second lock mounted low. A single deadbolt at the standard height is a single point of failure. Kick a door and all the force lands on that one spot. The trick used by people who genuinely need to disappear, including some in witness protection, is embarrassingly simple. Add a second lock and mount it in an unexpected place. A surface mount slide bolt or a barrel bolt installed near the floor or up near the top of the door forces an intruder to defeat 2 locks at 2 heights, which means the door has to fail in 2 places at once instead of 1. Force gets split. A cheap barrel bolt is under $10. Better yet is a floor-mounted flush bolt that drops a steel pin straight down into a hole drilled in the floor, anchoring the door to the foundation of the house. The genius is the geometry. 1 lock, 1 weak point, 2 locks at different heights, and the physics of kicking the door apart stops working because you can never concentrate the blow. It is the same principle as a heavy vault door, achieved with 2 $10 bolts and a drill. Simple, ugly, and it holds. Number 13, the false wall and the hidden door. The best safe room is one an intruder never knows exists, and you do not need a Hollywood set builder to make one. The oldest version is a bookshelf across a doorway, a hollow core door laid flat mounted on a piano hinge and faced with a cheap bookcase from a thrift store becomes a passage that reads as furniture. Total cost, maybe $60 in salvage parts. Another version hides a room behind what looks like a closet. You frame a false back wall a few feet in front of the real one and hinge a section of it. People walk past a hidden room because their eyes tell them the wall ends where the paint ends. During times of danger, families have hidden inside spaces exactly like this for centuries, behind pantries, under stairs, inside chimneys. The modern security industry sells concealment rooms for the price of a car. But concealment is not a product. It is an illusion, and illusions are cheap. A man in Missouri built a hidden reading nook behind a bookcase for his kids as a fort. He realized later it was also the safest room in the house, and it cost him a weekend and a box of screws. Number 12, a charged phone that never leaves the room. The single most important item in any safe room is not steel or a weapon. It is a way to call for help, and it fails constantly because people carry their only phone with them everywhere. When the emergency happens, the phone is charging in the kitchen on the wrong side of the danger. The poor man's fix is to buy a cheap prepaid phone, keep it permanently in the safe room, plugged in and charged. Even a deactivated phone with no service plan can, by federal law, still dial 911 on any available network. That means a $20 flip phone from a drugstore, one you never pay a monthly bill for, is a guaranteed lifeline sitting in that room forever. A landline mounted inside the room does the same job and cannot be jammed or run out of battery. The expensive rooms install satellite communication systems. Your grandmother had a phone on the wall that always worked. The lesson she knew is the one we forgot. The best emergency tool is the one that is already there when the emergency starts, not the one you have to run back through the house to grab. Number 11, eyes on the door before you open it. Half of surviving a break-in is information. Knowing where the intruder is, how many there are, and whether it is safe to move keeps you from walking into the worst possible moment. A $20,000 room comes with a wall of monitors. You can get the same awareness for under $40. A simple wide-angle peephole, the kind that costs $8 and installs in a drilled hole, lets you see the hallway without exposing yourself. Better still is a cheap battery doorbell camera or a $25 wireless security camera aimed down the approach to your safe room, feeding to that prepaid phone. Now you are watching them without them knowing you are there. During a home invasion, the deadliest mistake is opening a door blind. Information erases that mistake. There is an old rule among people who study these things. Never move toward a threat you cannot see. A cheap camera and a peephole turn a blind box into a bunker with eyes. The technology that used to require a security company and a monitoring contract now fits in your palm and costs less than dinner for two. Number 10, filling the hollow door. Say you cannot afford to replace your hollow door with a solid one, or you are renting and cannot swap it out. There is a trick that turns the door you already have into something far tougher, and it costs almost nothing. A hollow door is empty inside, that cardboard honeycomb doing nothing. You can open the top edge of the door, the thin cap of wood usually pops or cuts off, and fill the cavity. Expanding spray foam adds rigidity for a few dollars a can, though it will not stop a determined hit alone. The stronger version is to slide a sheet of half-inch plywood, or, for the serious, a piece of sheet steel down inside the door before capping it back off. Now the boot that would have punched through cardboard meets a solid backing. From the outside, it looks like the same cheap door it always was. That is the beauty of it. An intruder expects a door he can shoulder through and instead hits a wall. A renter in Chicago did this with $2 of foam and a scrap of plywood from a dumpster and slept better for years. The luxury room brags about its core. You just built your own. Number 9, lighting as a weapon. Darkness helps an intruder and hurts you, so the cheapest defensive upgrade to any home is light, and it works before anyone even reaches your safe room. A $15 motion-activated floodlight over an entry point turns a quiet approach into a stage under a spotlight, and the overwhelming majority of would-be intruders simply leave when they get lit up, because the whole game is not being seen. Inside, keep a bright flashlight in the safe room, one that stays there always. A blinding tactical flashlight, now under $20, pointed at someone's eyes in a dark hallway, takes away their vision and their advantage in an instant, buying you the moment you need. Old-timers knew a porch light left on was the cheapest burglar deterrent ever invented. And the data still agrees with them. The expensive systems sell you integrated lighting arrays controlled from a touchscreen. A $15 motion light from the hardware store and a flashlight on a shelf do the part that actually matters. Light is delay, light is deterrence, and light is nearly free. Second pattern break. Here is something the high-end security industry actively hopes you never realize. Almost everything they sell is a marked-up version of something in the hardware aisle. The $2,000 ballistic door is a solid core slab with a steel sheet inside, the same thing you can build for under $100. The professional strike reinforcement is long screws and a steel plate. The concealment system is a bookcase on a hinge. They are not selling you security. They are selling you the feeling of security, packaged so you never have to touch a screwdriver or feel like you did it yourself. And they price it so high that ordinary families assume real protection is out of reach, so they buy nothing at all and stay completely unprotected. That is the cruelest part. The fear of not being able to afford the $20,000 room stops people from spending $40 on the things that would actually save them. The knowledge was never expensive. Only the branding is. Number 8, the supply box that turns a room into a shelter, a safe room. You cannot survive in for a few hours is just a closet you are trapped in. The difference between the two is a plastic tote and about $40. Inside it, several bottles of water, some shelf-stable food, a basic first aid kit, a spare phone charger and battery pack, a flashlight with fresh batteries, and any critical medications in a labeled bottle. If you shelter in a bathroom, you already have water and a toilet, which is why it is a smart choice. The point is that you can hold that room calmly for as long as it takes police to arrive or a storm to pass, without needing to open the door for anything. The panic room brochures show climate-controlled bunkers stocked for a month. You do not need a month. You need 2 hours of not having to leave. A $6 tote and $40 of supplies from a normal grocery run does that. Families who lived through hard times kept a box like this without thinking of it as prepping. They just called it being ready. Number 7, noise you can trigger from inside. Silence favors an intruder. Noise favors you. One of the oldest and cheapest tools of defense is simply the ability to make a sound so loud it becomes a problem for the person outside your door. A $5 air horn, the kind at sporting events, kept inside the safe room, does two things at once. It can be heard by neighbors from far away and blasted at close range in an enclosed hallway. It is physically disorienting to anyone nearby. A cheap whistle around your neck works when your voice fails from panic. Better still, a $25 personal alarm or a spare car key fob that triggers your car's panic button from inside the house floods the street with a siren that draws every eye in the neighborhood. Intruders want to work in silence and leave unnoticed. Take that away, and you have taken their whole plan. The wealthy install alarm systems wired to a monitoring center. A $5 air horn on a nail by the door does the loud part instantly, with no subscription and no delay, and it never loses signal. Number 6, backing the walls with plywood. Here is a fact that shocks people. The walls of your safe room are probably half an inch of drywall over empty space, and drywall offers essentially zero resistance. A determined person can go through the wall beside your reinforced door, right through it, in less time than it takes to defeat the lock. All that work on the door means nothing if the wall is paper. The fix is to line the inside of your safe room's walls with plywood. Half-inch sheets screwed into the studs turn a hollow wall into a solid barrier that has to be chopped, not punched through. A sheet of plywood is around $30, and a small room takes only a few. For the serious, the same approach with a layer of sheet steel or backerboard makes the wall genuinely tough. This is the trick. The expensive rooms are built entirely around ballistic panels in the walls, and it is nothing more than sheet goods screwed to framing. A carpenter in Tennessee lined his daughter's closet with plywood in an afternoon for less than $100 and turned an ordinary bedroom closet into the strongest room in the house. Number 5. The second way out. A safe room. With only one door is not a safe room. It is a trap, because if that single door is ever compromised, or if there is fire, you are cornered with nowhere to go. Every good safe room has an escape plan, and building one costs almost nothing. If the room has a window, keep a collapsible escape ladder there, the kind that hooks over a sill and unrolls down the side of the house. They cost about $30 and fold into a box the size of a shoebox. For a ground floor room, the window itself is the exit, so make sure it opens fully and is not painted shut or blocked. The principle is ancient. No one who understood danger ever willingly put themselves in a room with a single exit. Castles had sally ports. Old houses had back stairs. The costliest panic rooms include a hidden secondary exit, and they charge a fortune for the engineering. A $30 folding ladder does the same job. The goal was never to make a perfect box you hide in forever. It was to buy time and then leave on your own terms. Number 4. Positioning and the angle of the door. This one costs nothing at all, and it is the trick professionals care about most. It is not a product, it is where you stand. When you are inside a safe room with the door as your barrier, most people instinctively stand directly behind the door, facing it. That is the worst possible spot, because you are lined up with exactly where an intruder's force or worse would come through. The people trained in this move to the side, out of the direct line of the doorway, positioned so they can see the door open, but are not standing in front of it. You keep a solid object, a heavy dresser, a bathtub wall, a full bookshelf between yourself and the door. You stay low and to one side. This is called getting off the line of attack, and it is the single most valuable thing on this list because it works even if every other trick failed. It requires no money, no tools, no installation, just knowing where to put your body. The $20,000 room cannot buy you this. Only understanding it can. A retired officer teaches it to his grandkids as a game. When the door is the danger, never be the thing behind the door. Number 3. The wedge under the door. This is the one that costs less than a pizza and stops a door better than locks people paid thousands for. A simple rubber door wedge, the kind used to prop doors open, costs about $3. Kicked tight under a door from the inside, it does something remarkable. It transfers the entire force of an impact down into the floor and turns the friction of the whole door bottom into your ally. The harder someone pushes, the tighter the wedge jams. For a few dollars more, you can buy a wedge with a built-in alarm that shrieks the instant the door moves against it, so it defends and warns at the same time. Stack 2 wedges, one over the other, and an inward swinging door becomes stunningly hard to force. Firefighters, hotel travelers, and people who have genuinely needed to keep a door shut have all leaned on this humble little block of rubber. It weighs nothing, fits in a pocket, needs no installation, and works on almost any door in any building you happen to be in. The panic room industry has never built anything with a better ratio of dollars spent to seconds bought. $3. That is the whole price of admission. Third pattern break. Here is the truth that ties this entire list together. In an emergency, you will not rise to the occasion. You will fall to the level of your preparation. That is why none of these tricks matter unless they are already done before the night you need them. The wedge has to already be in the room. The phone has to already be charged. The long screws have to already be in the frame. The escape ladder has to already be under the window. The person who survives is not braver or stronger than the person who does not. They are the one who spent a boring Saturday and $40 months earlier doing unglamorous work on a door nobody was attacking yet. That is the whole secret the expensive industry buries under steel and touchscreens. Safety was never about the size of the check you wrote. It was about the quiet, cheap, ordinary work you did before anyone was at the door. Number 2, layering the delays. No single trick on this list is a fortress. The magic is in stacking them, because delays add up faster than most people realize. Think about what an intruder faces at a properly prepared safe room. First, a solid core door, so no easy shoulder through. Then long screws in the strike plate, so no easy kick. Then a 2x4 bar and a low bolt, so the door will not swing. then a reinforced frame so it will not crack, then plywood in the walls so there is no going around. Each layer alone might buy 30 seconds. Together they buy many minutes, and almost no intruder has many minutes, because every one of those minutes is a minute closer to police arriving and a minute louder with air horns and sirens. This is exactly how a real vault works. It is not one impenetrable thing. It is many small resistances stacked until the total time to defeat them exceeds anyone's willingness to try. You just built the same principle out of screws, lumber, and rubber wedges for under $200 total. That is the entire trade secret of the $20,000 room, and now you own it. Number 1. Choosing the right room in the first place. The single most important decision costs absolutely nothing, and almost everyone gets it wrong. They imagine building a special room. They never need to. The best safe room in most houses already exists. It is usually a bathroom or a bedroom closet, chosen for reasons that money cannot improve. A room on an interior wall, away from exterior doors and windows, so it is hard to reach and hard to see into. A room with a solid path to it from where you sleep, so you can get there fast in the dark. A bathroom especially, because it gives you water, a toilet, thick plumbing walls, and often a small high window that is hard to enter but possible to escape through. You pick this room once for free, and then you spend a few weekends and a few $100s applying every trick on this list to it. The solid door, the long screws, the bar, the wedge, the plywood, the phone, the supply box, the escape ladder, and when you are done, you have something the oil man's $40,000 vault could not give his family, because he built a fortress they had to run to across the house. You built one they were already standing in. The right room, prepared quietly and cheaply, is the safest place in America, and it was there the whole time. Here is my challenge. Do one of these this week. Just one. Put the long screws in your strike plate. Drop a $3 wedge in your bedroom. Charge an old phone and leave it in the closet. Then look at that room differently, because it just got safer for the price of a coffee. The industry spent millions convincing you that safety cost $20,000. Your grandfather knew it cost a Saturday and a box of screws. Now you know it too. Drop the trick you're going to do first in the comments. I want to know if the door wedge gets more love than the long screws, because these were never just tricks. They were the difference between hoping you are safe and knowing it.